Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Sales Scoop, a weekly show for startups who want to improve how they sell. We tackle the hottest topics in sales and bring you the shiniest pearls of wisdom from experienced sellers. I'm Alistair Cole. Started the Uplift Partnership with my two co-founders and friends, and I have 2 decades experience in sales and marketing after a career as a computer scientist and software engineer. And I'm joined today, I'm delighted to say, by Kieran.
Hi, my name's Kieran Gill. I'm also a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership, together with Alistair and Douglas Cole. I have 2 years, sorry, that's more than that, 20 years worth of business development experience working in finance and also in tech.
And together we simplify sales for startups. It's that simple. Today's topic is light speed lead generation, how to flood your pipeline with prospects. And it's really important because arguably the number one question we're asked by founders and sellers and startups is, how do we generate more leads? How can it be done? How can it be done quickly in order to grow the business and keep our business alive? And lead generation sits kind of in the middle of the 7 areas that we've been scoring startups on over the last 4 years through our 360 product, averaging like 60.5. So behind sales strategy, team structure, and deal closing, but ahead of continuous improvement, customer success, and tech stack. So fairly middling in terms of their scores, which makes sense because you would expect startups have to go and generate leads and close business in order to get there. So it's not the worst area, but absolutely not the best, and still the one that we get the most questions for. So I mean, that's the data that we're hearing, Kieran. What are you hearing out on the street with the startups that we're talking to?
The word on the street. Well, from the startups we're speaking to, it's hard out there. 2023 has been an exceptionally hard year to do business in. And I think any industry that you're looking at, especially the tech sector of B2B complex selling, companies are taking their time to make their decisions. So lead generation is fundamental, and it's difficult. And knowing what to do and when to do it is the hardest point. And that's why I think we're asked so much, aren't we, Alistair, by a lot of the companies we speak to. When we do the analysis work with them, it comes down to lead generation. You know, it's the hottest topic. It always comes down to it. Where can I get better leads? Where can I get more of them? And you know, what do I need to do to make my lead generation machine or engine better, more efficient, and all these kind of questions. And that's why I think it's so important to have this kind of webinar every so often.
Yeah. So if you're a startup founder or selling for a startup and you've been anxious about it, you're not alone. A lack of high quality leads is the third highest challenge that's faced sales teams in 2023. So it is right up there in terms of areas of concern. And often it's the marketing end of the business that has been taking flack for it. You know, only 7% of sellers rate as top quality those leads they get from marketing. And obviously in a startup environment, there's a good chance that you might be doing both, right, as a founder. And it's about assessing the quality that you put in when you're wearing your marketing hat versus your lead gen hat. And you know, we want to get straight into actionable tips for people watching and listening. And in our discussions ahead of this session, Kieran and I have been focusing on 2 big areas, and one is the all the work that happens before the lead gen starts, the kind of below the surface of the iceberg, and then the element above the surface, which is much smaller, which is what you do once that opportunity arrives. So there's that kind of prep work, and then how you respond in terms of thought and speed of action once those leads pop up and get nurtured. So you know, let's dive into that, Kieran. In terms of putting the basics in place, what would you recommend people on the call make sure they've got squirreled away? What should they be absolutely nailing in terms of cornerstones of the preparation for doing lead gen?
Okay, so I think you hit your last graph showed something quite interesting there when you were talking about only 7% of leads or good leads coming from marketing. Now, if you're talking about, if you're a business that is doing outbound lead generation, that means that you as a seller or your founder, whoever it is actually going hand to hand out there and trying to engage people. That is a totally different system to using your marketing machine to bring leads in. Now, because your marketing machine will be going out there and trying campaigns, and some of these campaigns tend to be cold, and they have a list of all this kind of, you'll have a data. Hopefully you've got your ideal customer profile, you've got your buyer personas, you've got your great value proposition that resonates, and you've got all of those fundamentals in place. Now you're ready for lead generation. So that's the fundamentals. That's your foundation. If you haven't got those in place, your lead generation is just going to fall flat, whether you're using a marketing machine to do cold outreach, or you're going to be using an internal kind of sales operation to do outreach for you. So when I talk about that side of things, that's when you've got a target list of customers, and you know that these target list of customers are fundamentally your ideal customers. If they're in the right position and they want to buy, they would be the perfect people to buy. Now, you need to have that list if you're going to go out there. That is the foundation. Now, if you're doing cold outreach, that means you've got a list of names from somewhere of the ideal customer. And again, you'll need to put together a campaign of whether that's going to go through social media, or whether that's an email campaign, or whether that you're knocking doors, depending on what you're selling. I don't know. So the thing is, whatever it is that you've got a campaign together and you've got your ideal customer, and you're going to go and then launch this campaign. Then once you've done that, you can then start talking about speeding it up, getting better at it. So that's the foundations, Alistair, from my side.
Yeah, and those things that you've mentioned, those essential things, ideal customer profile, value proposition, these things all need to reside somewhere, right? And they we talk to so many startups where it's in people's heads, or little scraps or post-it notes. Startups need a single playbook document, somewhere where they can go that's got everything in. It's got 3 ideal customer profiles, 1 page per ICP defined, and that data can be used straight into Sales Navigator or into other sales enablement tools in order to find those lists. The messages, the templated messages that you're going to send out, the first message, second message, third message, they all need to be in that playbook as well. So we're big advocates of those core documents, that playbook document, which might be a presentation or a Google Slides, and that's absolutely critical. It sits there, and actually your choice of platform and tools is not just the sales choice. It's obviously a business choice, but actually having the right tools, right? The Google Suite, for example, in terms of their integration, speed of collaboration, those are game changers. That is one way to accelerate your business and accelerate your lead gen. Are you using the right tools, the right platforms, looking out there for tools that automate or semi-automate creation of lists or sending of messages? Have to be done warily, but actually the right tools, the right platforms, the right documents, the kind of basics, right? It sounds mad, but actually the basics need to be done really well, and then and those are used to create those important sales lists that you just talked about. So there's a Navy SEALs mantra, which is slow is smooth is fast. And when that underneath section of the iceberg is sorted, using the right platforms, tools, documents, then actually you're able to move very smoothly, because going to get something and share it is quick, it's easy, and things can accelerate that way. So those really important. What are your thoughts on shortcuts, Mr. Gill, and kind of cheats?
Well, before you start cheating, I think the one thing I need to advocate is that you need to be doing it every day, and also need to know what you're doing. And then you can start talking about shortcuts, and you can start talking about hacks and how can you do something quicker. But before you do that, and that's why, going back to what you said about playbooks. I think it's so important. We see so much from the startups we're working with in all industries, is that everything's random and ad hoc. People say they're doing lead generation, and then when you go into it, it's ad hoc, it's random. The processes were once thought about, but they don't really adhere to them any longer. And it's a little bit of a kick and hope kind of process to lead generation. So before we get to shortcuts, let's get into the process of doing lead generation every day, doing, prospecting every day. That's what you do, whether it's launching campaigns or direct messaging your kind of contact list, whatever it is, do that first. And then I know you're a big advocate on shortcuts, aren't you, Alistair? That's a great way of speeding everything up and making it easier.
You're so spot on in terms of the habits and the daily thing. And I think actually using the calendar, if I was starting or talking to founders who've just started, right? Really, you need the playbook as a kind of Google Slides. You need a Google spreadsheet as your pipeline, and that's got all your contacts in. It's got your rates of moving from how many conversations you need to get to move through to making an offer, to meetings. So all those numbers can be in that sheet. And the other one is a calendar, right? And using that calendar tool properly, the right length of time, 1 hour for a sales meeting a week, 15 minutes a day to check in on lead generation tools, 4 hours in a week to go and write next week's batch of lead generation content. So actually the diary, and for me, the diary stimulates the habits. And that's like a cheat for me, my friend. That's how I build those habits. And you're right. And actually, that's also slow is smooth and smooth is fast, because once you get into a habit of commenting on a regular basis and involving others on LinkedIn and sharing original posts and putting on events, whatever it is, once you get into that habit, you build the muscle, as we always say, and it speeds up. But I am a big fan of not cheats, but shortcuts. And it comes back down to the same point about doing things quickly, right? Which is, rather than reaching for the mouse, if you know the shortcut code for a particular task that you do a lot in one of your documents, then using that over time is going to save you hours and hours. You can actually get to the finish line quicker and get that message out. So those things are really crucial. What else should we have in place before that kind of lead gen starts, Kieran? I'm thinking some of the tools and platforms that we use to
the thing, I think you need to think about where your customers are. So where are your customers going to be residing is the most important thing. Before you start thinking about what tools to use to make your life easier, you need to think about where your ideal customer is going to be. Now, are they going to be on LinkedIn? Or are they going to be at events? Or where are they going to be? Where are you going to get in contact with them? And then what you can do is start then thinking about the tools that you need to get in contact with them, to make your life easier. Now, most people use email. So an email campaigning tool, MailChimp, all of those kind of campaign tools that help you, automate emails and things. Great way of saving time and effort. And if you are on LinkedIn and then you potentially are finding customers on LinkedIn or potentially speaking to people on LinkedIn who could potentially be customers, there's some great automation tools there that can speed up that whole process for you as well. We use Expandy, but there are so many different types of tools out there who will do sequencing. However, I'm going to put this with a caveat. In B2B complex selling, I think personalization is very, very important. So if you want to go out there with a cold outreach kind of a very technical kind of email campaign that basically changes the first person's name to "Hi John" or "Hi Rachel" or whatever it is, and then goes further along with the same text and then changes there to the company name, and that's the level of personalization that you're going to. I reckon customers see through that. Personally, I do. So if you're selling something complex and it's B2B and it's worth a lot, it's worth you investing that time in actually really doing a personalized email to that person or a direct message. and it takes a little bit more, but what you're selling is worth a lot more. So thus your cost of sale is going to be a little bit more it's going to cost more. So your time is going to be invested. So that's some of the tools you can do. And there are very complex tools out there. So Apollo.io is one that I use that helps me sequence emails, because occasionally you do run campaigns that are cold and they're a little bit hit and hope. You've got your ideal customers, you're looking at a particular market, you've got your list from wherever you've got it from, and you're thinking, we're just going to throw it out there, and hopefully somebody there is going to go, wow, I really need that thing that you just sent me an email about. Oh, amazing that you just sent me that exactly at some point that I was going to purchase. Very unlikely, but it might happen.
Yeah, you're spot on, right, in terms of the personalization. And I think the recent wave of technology platforms in order to support lead gen have meant that people hoping that just solves all their problems. Like you said, it just takes away the pain, it does the job, I don't need to think about it. And actually, we're advocates for those tools used in the right way for the right time in the right campaigns, and not all the time. And actually, we see much better results, and we're hearing startups we talk to share better results when their messages are much more personalized, right? When they actually take the time to research individual clients and send them personalized message. And I think another thing that you can do to speed up your lead generation, which might sound counterintuitive, but is to focus on authenticity, right? Which is effectively personalization. So what are the messages that, is it just, canned messages that a company's given you, or that you've pulled off the web, or is it actually an authentic message that comes from the heart from you about why you're interested in working with that business? So that personalization, that authenticity, that sounds like it takes a lot of time, but actually investing time in doing that means that you're able to, use the core of that for messages for lead generation and go out there. And actually, one of the ways of flooding your pipeline, right, is about having a mix of lead gen sources. And one of them is going to be what we've just been talking about. So highly personalized, picking an individual client, potential customer, and going out to them with a highly authentic, highly personalized message. Obviously, that's high touch. You're not going to be doing thousands of those a day. You might manage one or two of those a day. But actually, also part of the mix are the other aspects. Non-digital. We're seeing hybrid selling working brilliantly in the last year, and not only is hybrid outperforming by 28%, either fully in person or fully remote selling, but it's also reflected in the 70% rise in sales roles in hybrid in the last year. So hybrid's the way. So offline, in real life networking events, important part of the lead gen mix, right? It's what number do you turn that to out of 10? The highly personalized messages we've just been talking about, super authentic, highly tailored for that individual and that individual's company. That's another lead source. And of course, there are others too. There is a space for automated, invites and sharing of highly valuable information to potential buyers. There's a place for that too. So there is that whole mix. I know you're a big advocate of the funnels mix, my friend. What would anything I've left out? What do a lot of startups forget in terms of their funnel mix that maybe they should be including?
I think going back to what I said before, have an understanding of where your customer is. Yeah. So if you're selling internationally, or if you're selling in a particular market, understand where your customer is going to be living and where you're going to be able to get in touch with them. Now, there are multiple ways in getting in touch with your ideal customer who's going to be purchasing. Now, and as I said, we're talking about complex B2B selling here. So the chances are this is going to be multiple conversations you're going to have with a person to purchase your product. It isn't one meeting, I'm going to close it straight away kind of stuff. We're talking about, complex. Now, if you're able to close in one meeting, that's fine. But so where you're generating your leads, and this is where the funnel mix comes into. So if you're talking about email campaigns, you might have a very low hit rate to getting meetings out of that. However, the meetings that might come through might not convert into proposals that then convert into, actual selling. So, these are all, it's all mathematics. So how many direct messages did you send today? And of those direct messages, how many people opened those direct messages? How many people at a networking event did you reach out to, or did you find? And there's all these different funnels that you can potentially create. And each of these funnels has its own individual way of selling into it. So that means there's a playbook or a play for each of these funnels. Now, what happens here at most startups, and this is why working with a professional company that knows how to do this, you should be thinking about doing all these different funnels and thinking to yourself, right, how do I interact with an email campaign client, and what is going to be their buyer's journey for me? And what's the buyer's journey going to be for somebody that I met at a networking event? What's the buyer's journey going to be to a companies that I'm actually, outreaching to? And all of these buyer journeys are going to be slightly different, but all coming down to the same point where you're trying to have that first meeting with that client. Because remember, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to flood your lead generation funnel as much as you can to get those first meetings, because those first meetings are going to turn into second meetings. Those second meetings are going to potentially turn into proposals. Those proposals are then going to turn into closed deals. And that's what you're working at. And once you have all that data, you'll be able to then see different funnels working at different rates. So you might not have so many networking events. You might not have so many leads coming through through into that funnel. However, you might see the quality of that funnel. Those networking events are turning into first meetings a lot quicker than your email campaigns, where you're sending out 2,500 emails and only 3 people came back to you saying, "Can I talk to you about your amazing product?"
Yeah. A sage advice about loading and nurturing the different sources into the funnel, really important. That might sound overwhelming for somebody on the call, right? Oh my word, how do I do 5 things every day across all these? And that's not how it has to be. For each of those sources, you can assign a different amount of effort. So it might be that for LinkedIn, you want to be commenting and posting every day. But maybe for your email engagement, it's a weekly thing. Newsletters might be monthly, and you might allocate effort to get leads from that on a different kind of cadence. So it's obviously we don't have an unlimited time, so you have to pick and choose and monitor the funnel, monitor the mix, and then adjust it as it changes. And we had talking about those kind of daily posts. We had a question from Mark LaPlante, a long-time friend of the business, who asked, what is the limited set of lead gen activities that must be done every day? And I'm sure Kieran and I will have a slightly different view. But for me, I think about keeping things warm, right? Keeping the machines warm, because we were talking about habits and momentum. If you get out of the habit of say, engaging on email or engaging on social media, then you lose momentum, you lose intent to go on there, and certainly in the case of LinkedIn, you lose kudos with the algorithm. So being in, posting daily, commenting daily, sending those personalized, authentic, highly tailored DMs to individuals, I think is critical. And obviously, my friend, trying to get meetings, right? Trying to send offers out and book meetings.
It's all done about that. That's game time. In lead generation, all of the other stuff, trying to get the leads in, that you can use whatever playbook you want to try to get them. It's all about that first meeting with the client, and then getting the second meeting. And the other thing I would advocate is that there's something that I talk about is called the buyer's window, or the buying window in selling. Not everybody is in the perfect buying window. They might be your ideal customer. They might be the ideal user for your product. It doesn't mean when you contact them that they're looking to purchase. Now, depending on your marketing content that you've got to support, that might trigger them to think, actually, you know what? How did I ever live without this product or this service? However, it still might not be the right time. So just because that person has said no to you on an email campaign, that doesn't mean that person can't be put into a different funnel. And you might still, over a period of time, still want to meet Mrs. Jones or Mr. Smith or whoever it is at an event and say, hey, oh yeah, actually, I remember your company, It's all about that personal touch, because tell you the truth, when it comes to prospecting, do it every day. Simple as that. Even when you've got enough business, even though your business, you've got so much business that you don't know what to do with it, as soon as you stop prospecting, I'll tell you this now, in 90 days' time, you'll suddenly see that your funnel will start drying up. And it's as simple as that. You've got to keep that tap on no matter what time of year. Yeah. So if you're going on holiday, it's Christmas, don't stop. Keep on, just keep it going. Keep that the machine well oiled. Do it. And I always say to Alistair, be proactive in the morning. Get your prospecting done out first thing in the morning. Block your morning. Do it from 9 until 11. You think to yourself, today, 10 messages. I'm going to get 10 messages out there. Those 10 messages in that week will turn into 50 messages. In that week will turn into 50. Over a month, that's 200 new messages to 200 prospects. Of those 200 prospects, let's say only 30% of those turn into meetings. That's a lot of meetings. But you have to do that every day. Of those 30%, what is that, 90? Of those 30%, let's say only 20% of those 30 meetings turn into proposals sent out. So that you suddenly get these numbers and you think to yourself, wow, actually I'm sending out 20 proposals every month. That's not too bad when I'm big ticket sales.
Yeah.
And of those 20, then suddenly we're winning 25% of those. If I keep on doing this, that's where the magic is, Alistair.
It's that trust in the process bit, right? And you got to do it every day. And for me, coming from an agency background where a lot of the new business was kind of, RFPs, or you'd have to go and pitch, there was a kind of, a set finish and what I've had to learn over the last few years is that that lead gen needs to happen every day. And crucially, you can't expect results immediately because it takes time for the kind of machines to warm up and quality to come through and you to be comfortable and make the time and learn the shortcuts to be able to do it every day. So doing it all the time is absolutely paramount. Look, that's fantastic. We're drawing to a close. I mean, so much more we probably could talk about. And you talk, Kieran, about them moving from social media into email. And I think another way to be super quick is to have your assets and your templates and stuff available, ready on every device, in every format. So at the drop of a hat, when someone does move or you do bump into someone at an event, you've got everything kind of at your fingertips, all the assets, all the messages, all the one pages, all the reports case, everything's easily accessible. So you can instantly send it, because when that buying window opens that you talked about, you've got to be able to strike, right? Fantastic. So a lot of the data that we've shown has come from our state of startup sales research that we've performed over the last 5 or 6 months. And that's all come from the 360-degree sales diagnostic product. That is our kind of door opener and how we engage with all of the businesses we work with. It's a 75-minute meeting. You get a score and a personalized 25-page report, and we present our findings, takeouts, and a rollout, recommendations rollout, next 4 quarters plan. And if you're interested in the 360, you can get more information at theupliftpartnership.com/360. We're having a lot of fun talking to startups of all different sizes, solopreneurs all the way up to 5-year-old AI-powered simulation companies. So having lots of fun there and engaging with lots of startups. If you're interested, give us a tinkle. Lead gen. I've been preparing for the podcast, Kieran, for this session, so I haven't fully smashed all of my prospecting for the day. So obviously, I shall hop onto that right away. If there's one thing to take away from today for startups or founders, startup sellers, I think for me, I would, from a technology point of view, I would come for the tools, and I don't mean advanced lead gen tools. I mean about getting the basics right. How easy is it for you to share a PDF? What Google Docs platform, what email platform? So that kind of all-round speed I find fantastic, so that I can hop onto leads as they emerge and share great stuff with them quickly. What about you, my friend?
Just do it. Going back to the old Nike kind of stop over planning, Stop overthinking about it. Stop thinking about making lists and making more lists on top of other lists, or potentially other people on top of lists. I've seen so many companies just waste their time on planning, because lead gen is hard. Because the reason it's hard is because it's shrouded in rejection. Yeah. And because you don't want to be rejected, because we've done podcasts about rejection, where we talk about why people don't do, sales is hard because it's got everything to do with rejection. And the hardest thing about lead gen is that you're sending out messages that people just don't react to. And that internally is just rejection. Just getting over that and just doing 10 a day, 5 a day, 3 a day, 1 a day, whatever it is, just do it. Just get it done. And I will tell you, within 30 days of doing it every day, sending out 1 request, 2 requests, you're going to get success. Yeah. You're going to start getting meetings.
And if that sounds like you, and you're watching or listening and you think, I'm scared about starting, I think what we say to a lot of smaller business solopreneurs is give yourself permission to get it wrong, right? Because it's going to go wrong. Don't worry about it. You're not being judged, and go out there and experiment. Try something new. You might feel uncomfortable. Just try one and you'll roll from there. Fantastic. I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much for your time, my friend. I really enjoyed that. Great show. We could talk for hours, but we'll call it a day there. Thanks for everybody watching and listening. I'll see you later, Kieran.
See you later. Bye for now.
Bye for now.